Imagine this. You recline upon a coarse straw mattress within the chill confines of a stone cottage in Yorkshire, England, during the harsh winter of 1347 AD. The relentless wind whistles through the cracks in the timber walls, carrying with it the bite of frost, while your exhaled breath hangs like fleeting Yet this fragile interlude of warmth is shattered by the rasping cough of your mother-in-law, who slumbers mere feet away upon her humble pallet. Beyond her, your two young children toss uneasily in their shared bed. Such was the essence of intimacy in the medieval era. Moments seized amid the symphony of familial sounds, tender whispers veiled by the sputtering embers of a fading fire, and an ever-present consciousness that no gesture, no caress, no sigh escaped unseen eyes. The notion of privacy, as we cherish it in our modern isolation, would have seemed as alien to a 14th-century peasant as traversing the heavens. Before we immerse ourselves in these poignant tales of endurance and anguish, if you find solace in uncovering the veiled verities of history, I invite you to express your appreciation by engaging with the like feature and subscribing for further explorations of this nature. Moreover, I encourage you to share in the comments the locale from whence you view this narrative. It strikes me as profoundly wondrous that we, separated by vast expanses of geography and eras, converge in our mutual fascination with bygone epochs. The solitary chamber in which you repose housed perhaps 8 or 10 souls across 3 generations. Should fortune permit the employment of 2 servants, they might retreat to the barn amid the beasts when milder climes prevail. Yet in the depths of winter's grip, they too compress into this enclosure, scarcely the size of a contemporary modest bedchamber. Nevertheless, amid this labyrinth of human proximity, wedded pairs contrived means to affirm their devotion, to beget offspring, and to fortify the ties that bound kinships. These approaches, forged from dire exigency, honed across ages, and conveyed in hushed counsel from elder to progeny, mirrored the unyielding truths of their existence. The design of medieval abodes echoed. Excavations of 13th-century manors in England disclose that bedchambers typically featured several beds, divided perchance by suspended tapestries or rudimentary wooden partitions, evoking a fragile illusion of separation amid the shared air. In the humble peasant dwelling, space was a rarer commodity still. This lone room encompassed kitchen, atelier, feasting area, and sleeping quarters. The hearth, sole fount of warmth and illumination, drew all pursuits to its flickering embrace. Furnishings were sparse. A collapsible table for meals, a handful of stools, and the invaluable bed substantial acquisitions for most households. Symbolizing not mere repose but a bulwark, the bed constituted a testament to medieval ingenuity, engineered less for luxury than for sheer perseverance. Yet these material barriers formed but a fragment of the ordeal. Medieval society adhered to rigid hierarchies and behavioral edicts that permeated every facet of existence. The Church proclaimed sexual longing as inherently sinful, permissible solely within matrimony and for procreation's sake. Overt displays of fondness were disdained, and a wedded duo might intimate their desires via innocuous actions. A prolonged brush of fingers during the exchange of an ale vessel, a poignant gaze across the firelit room, or a murmured suggestion to inspect the livestock in the outbuilding. These veiled missives required precise deciphering by the beloved while eluding the scrutiny of kin and retainers. Orchestrating the timing of such encounters demanded masterful households pulsed to the cadence of seasons and agrarian toil. In harvest's fervor, when labor spanned from first light to twilight, fatigue eclipsed ardor. Spring heralded prime occasions for seclusion. As temperatures rose and daylight stretched, pairs could venture to meadows feigning agricultural duties or herb foraging. Woodlands offered concealed nooks for surreptitious rendezvous, though fraught with hazards, outlaws, beasts, and vigilant villagers whose whispers could summon ecclesiastical censure. Summer ushered its own interplay of prospect and impediment. Advent, Lent, and intervals encircling sacred observances mandated continence. Even in matrimony, spouses were adjured to abstain on Wednesdays, Fridays, and Sundays, confining sanctioned intimacy to 4 days weekly. Gestation introduced, the midwife emerged as a pivotal figure in orchestrating these private realms of wedded existence. Oft the sole repository of anatomical and cyclical lore in the hamlet, her counsel on chronology, postures, and preventives was solicited in secrecy by those bold enough to broach such taboos. Her attendance during parturition afforded rare instances for candid resolution lay in a nuanced regimen of instruction and deliberate oversight. Youths were trained to slumber profoundly, to disregard peculiar noises and motions, and to recognize certain rights as adult prerogatives. Parents refined arts of subdued motion and hushed restraint, enacting their private lives within whisper's confines. Bed curtains fulfilled manifold roles beyond thermal insulation and seclusion. These ponderous drapes, frequently the costliest possession in modest homes, erected a mental bulwark, permitting pairs to envision solitude amid the throng. They dampened acoustics and obscured views, fashioning a veiled enclave of comparative privacy in the communal expanse. Yet even therein, spouses confronted the corporeal rigors of medieval subsistence. Forms unbathed for weeks, attire doubling as diurnal and nocturnal garb, and incessant infestations rendering intimacy a meticulously rehearsed endeavor. Bathing's opulence was reserved for auspicious events, monthly for the opulent, sparser for the indigent. The cyclical pulses of medieval existence engendered innate motifs of closeness. Winters protracted, gelid nights rendered the marital bed's warmth a pragmatic imperative alongside sentimental longing. Spring infused vigor post-winter's rigors. Summer proffered al fresco retreats, while autumn's reaping revels yielded infrequent communal merriment and repose. Fiscal strains molded intimate bonds. In dearth, survival's toll subdued sentiment. Famine, chill, and weariness quelled passion. Conversely, bounty post-abundant yield or prosperous barter rejuvenated vitality and hope, fostering tenderer alliances. Liquor's influence in medieval closeness merits attention. Ale and beer, safer than tainted water in sundry locales, induced habitual mild inebriation. Nuptial feasts, harvest galas, and holy days permitted relaxation of customary inhibitions via imbibing, albeit swelling abodes with kin and visitors. Seasonal peregrinations in medieval routine birthed further seclusion prospects. Summertime dispatched herds to remote grazings, compelling herdsmen to bivouac afield. Youths journeyed to marts or fetes, transiently thinning households. Such absences carved ephemeral intervals of relative isolation for wedded pairs. Economic verities postponed matrimony until the 20s or 30s, when assets sufficed for independent hearths. This protracted anticipation nurtured fervent desire, tempered by Christian ethos and societal norms. Arranged unions prevailed across strata, with familial meddling varying in intensity. Even therein, pairs were anticipated to cultivate fondness and harmony progressively. The closeness evolving in these pairings often proved profounder than literary ardors, tempered in adversity's forge and reciprocal reliance. Matrimony's juridical scaffolding vested husbands with dominion over wives' forms and conduct. Canon law enjoined wifely submission while capping demands to rational bounds and ends. These dissonant imperatives bred private frictions and ambiguities. Medieval perceptions of feminine desire drew from antique medical tomes and divinity. Women were deemed innately more concupiscent, necessitating perpetual restraint. Yet texts conceded bundling a custom wherein betrothed pairs bedded clad and occasionally bound exemplified society's labyrinthine stratagems to harness passion within moral bounds. Prevalent in Northern Europe, it sanctioned corporeal nearness whilst ostensibly safeguarding chastity. Contraception, though ecclesiastically anathematized, pervaded medieval Europe. Matrons transmitted herbal lore and methods to avert or curtail gestation. This subterranean sorority of feminine sagacity flourished in murmured dialogues among matriarchs and offspring, midwives and wards, defying doctrinal edicts. Courtly love's ethos, enshrined in verse and melody, proffered romantic archetypes remote from matrimonial realities. These fictive reveries inspired yet tormented pairs, striving for romance amid diurnal fetters. Medieval domiciles' structural progression mirrored shifting privacy mores. Emergent segregated chambers, chimneys warming multifarious rooms, and glazing's advent augmented secluded intimacy yet confined to the affluent, evolving languidly over centuries. The Black Death scourge from 1,000 demographic decimation endowed survivors with amplified space and means. Mortality's psychic toll transmuted attitudes toward delight and closeness, as souls sought solace in bonds amid existential dread. Ecclesiastical reformations imposed supplementary strains on private unions. Mystical Christianity's ascent, extolling celestial matrimony and celibacy, proffered paradigms challenging orthodox conjugal closeness. Certain pairs aspired to fraternal spirituality, forswearing carnality whilst preserving affective ties. Urban guilds orchestrated novel domestic hierarchies. Artisans, consorts, journeymen, and novices coexisted under one roof, engendering intricate authority and closeness strata. The artisan's spouse might oversee apprentices' welfare, sustaining decorum and spousal fidelity. Medieval temporality diverged profoundly from modernity's precision. Absent timepieces, cadences bowed to solar arcs, pealing bells, and labor's organic flux. This fluid chronology fostered impromptu closeness, yet thwarted premeditated seclusion. Melody and narrative fortified medieval closeness. The troubadour legacy furnished lexicon for unspoken sentiments. The kitchen's central blaze and collective cookery rendered it intimacy's nucleus. Spouses collaborating in repasts, sampling flavors, orchestrating sustenance for multitudes cultivated tacit coordination, translatable to private spheres. Bedtime rituals entailed elaborate orchestration amid kin. Retirement sequences, bedding dispositions, and fire's waning demanded synchronization. Within this ballet, pairs carved intimate junctures, psalms disrupting familial harmony. Hospitality's ethos compelled harboring wayfarers, compressing space and taxing spousal seclusion. Such duties occasionally superseded conjugal needs, assaying bond resilience. Festive cycles, reapings, holy vigils, milestones afforded communal laxity and mores. Revels encompassed carousing, libations, and stylized wooing, enabling overt spousal tenderness. Matrimony's sacramental sanctity imbued closeness with theology equipped pairs with discourse elevating unions beyond carnality, fostering profounder communion. Pilgrimages proffered singular seclusion. Sacred treks spanned weeks, liberating pairs from kin surveillance. Adversities and devotions fortified bonds. Juridical oversight of spousal discord and violation unveiled power asymmetries. While submission was mandated, thresholds existed. Communal arbitration enforced boundaries, pressuring harmonious facades. Pairs traversed these sans contemporary remedies. Extended kin wove obligation webs shaping closeness. In-law dynamics, sibling duties, unwed relatives molded conjugal interplay. Fosterage dispatching progeny elsewhere for rearing complicated parental closeness, mandating equilibrium between sentiment and pragmatism. Matrimony's fiscal import, hygiene's communality, modesty's variances fashioned unique intimacy. Godparents' spiritual kinships amplified stakeholders in private affairs. Rough music, communal shaming of norm breakers incited wet nursing among elites expedited resumption of relations yet evoked sentimental entanglements. Bereavement's ubiquity, infantile demise rampant, compelled navigating loss whilst sustaining bonds. Servants' presence engendered authority intricacies, witnessing privacies, boundary maintenance challenged closeness. Widowhoods orchestrated remarriages navigated grief and nascent affections. Sin's redemption theology constrained yet enabled. Sanctified intent hallowed carnality. Confession subjected closeness to clerical gaze, pressuring conformity yet offering solace. Spiritual amities, same-sex bonds complemented or rivaled spousal ties. Honor's ethos extended closeness beyond privacy. Reputation's upkeep was vital for standing. Warfare's seasonality disrupted bonds, campaigns parted pairs, soldiers intruded. Apprenticeship dynamics, quasi-familiar folk magic clashed doctrine. Amulets, potions infused closeness with arcane layers. Dreams, portents divine or demonic fostered dream, sharing intimacy. Festivals relaxed mores, enabling overt tenderness. Midwives counseled beyond birth contraception, harmony. Gossip surveillance pressured conformity. Trial cohabitation prefaced vows, fostering closeness within acceptability. Agrarian cycles patterned intimacy, labor's intensity, winter's repose. Conception's pleasure requisite, added dynamics. Extended kin balanced private needs with duties. Fosterage parted families, yet rediscovered. Arranged unions navigated desires within norms. Celebrations enabled overt affection. Sin's framework constrained yet sanctified. As the hearth's glow fades in that Yorkshire abode of 1347 AD, and winds persist in their lament through timbered barriers, you and your spouse, unearth modes of devotion surpassing. Your closeness gauges not in pilfered seclusion, but in fingers' gentle clasp beneath wool, in breaths commingling in frost, in tacit comprehension that this instant, however ephemeral, however beheld, is yours inviolate. The medieval realm instilled that affection, akin to endurance, demanded cunning, forbearance, and acquiescence to bounds inconceivable today. Yet therein, pairs nurtured tenderness, propagated lineages, forged resilient ties amid tribulations. Their closeness eschewed literary grandeur for a subtler treasure, a steadfast ember enduring night's expanse in a realm where seclusion was extravagance, and devotion a daily reaffirmation amid observers who grasped that certain enigmas warranted safeguarding, certain instants merited communion, certain ties endured worldly trials. The artifices they devised, concessions enacted, loves kindled in communal fringes narrate but a portion. To fathom medieval pairs' intimacy navigation, we must probe profounder. Stratagems deployed, tacit codes adhered, extraordinary measures to preserve sanctity, sans refuge. A consort might graze her mate's hand, proffering bread, lingering infinitesimally. He reciprocates by shifting on the bench, minimizing yet decorous space. These minutiae, perfected through epochs of compulsion. Margaret de Clare, consort of a Gascon lesser noble in the 14th century, bequeathed epistles unveiling marital discourses ballet. In 1356 correspondence to her sibling, she delineates coded idioms permitting intimate discourse amid retainers. Grain stores inspection connoted seclusion yearning. Dimming fires note deferred nocturnal pursuits. Dwellings fabric abetted covert exchanges. Beds alignments facilitated discreet gazes whilst upholding propriety. Valued artifacts, icons, heirloom weavings, crucifixes served as silent dialogue anchors. Medieval prelude diverged from contemporary romance. Preparation commenced hours prior, via escalating yet permissible interactions. A mate aids his partner in religious rites amplified this. Vesper devotions permitted adjacent kneeling, voices harmonizing in liturgy, bodies proximate in sanctity's aura. Prayer's meter forged unity transcending barriers. Seasonal fluxes engendered anticipated intimacy motifs. Spring's toil harmonized bodies in fields, legitimizing contact amid sweat and shed layers. Summer's harvest's exertions fatigued yet permitted field escapes feigning duties. Winter's frigidity necessitated layered intimacy. Pleasure and culinary preparations yielded affection's lexicon, choice morsels reserved, rarities proffered amid scarcity. Olfactory comprehension bound pairs. Natural essences comforted, shared garb sensorial intimacy. Tactile care delousing, wound dressing tender amid necessity. Fertility law incentivized mutual fulfillment, yet pressured performances. Dreams revelations fostered ethereal closeness. Narratives, parables, ballads yielded auditory intimacy in obscurity. Pilgrimages liberated from oversight. Treks rigors deepened bonds, bodily care legitimized. Sacramentality elevated closeness spiritually. Directionals proffered religious discourse on unions. Amities complemented spousals. Observance rhythmed restraint, fostering emotional bonds. Suffering spiritualized struggles. Mysticism proffered celibate paradigms. Kin balanced needs. Fosterage rediscovered pairs. Migrations thinned households. Hospitality essayed unity. Entertainment melody. Frolic yielded playful bonds. Gender mores framed obligations. Courtship built gradual closeness. Love's cultivation strengthened ties. Economies forged partnerships. Medicine tendered care. Mortality urged expression. Rights consoled loss. Resurrection transcended. Guilds layered obligations. Apprenticeship shaped contexts. Warfare disrupted. Honor pressured conformity. Trade partnered. Education balanced. Law framed rights. Letters transcended distance. Astronomy explained rhythms. Superstition ritualized. Gifts expressed. Memory maintained. Narratives mythologized. Religious life patterned. Community supported. Resolution mediated. Virtue pursued. Literature idealized. Pilgrimage deepened. Healing connected. Agriculture rhythmed. Time light symbolized. Rhythms metaphored. Silence communicated. Work partnered. Home sanctified. Observance deepened. Journey sacralized. Thus, reclining anew in that Yorkshire hut of 1347 AD, winds keening through timbers, husbands grasp beneath wool, you grasp antiquity's lesson. Closeness dwelled not in expanse but creation, affection not in purchased hush but forged amid din. In privacy's void, tenderness defied witnesses, secrets whispered audibly yet lover comprehended, sacred in ordinary pulses where hearts synced breath,